Hey everyone, it's Debbie here, Squirrel 2 from Stampin Squirrels, and thank you very much for joining me today. I'm going to show you how to make this really cute pendulum card using the SNAILED IT bundle. I absolutely love this cute little fellas with their shells, and ladies I should say. Some toadstools, it's all pink and yellow and yummy colours. So today I've chosen to make the pendulum card. Now this is really difficult to show you because of the angle of the camera, but I can assure you, as I show you here, that when you stand it upright, the little snail inside it swings because he's on a pendulum which is made with a brad. So I'm going to show you how to put this together. My thanks goes to Dawn at dawnstampinthoughts.net. I love Dawn and I got this idea from her. So I'm going to carry on and show you how to make this, and today we're going to be using two of my fave colours, which of course is Coastal Cabana and Bermuda Bay, and they are some of the colours that are picked up in the SNAILED IT designer series paper, so I've coordinated it using those. So I'm going to pop those to one side and I'm going to tell you the pieces that you need to make the card. So there's quite a few little bits, but it is worth it. You can, of course, you can use any other bundle to this, as long as you've got a cute little character that you can swing from side to side. So you need a piece of cardstock which measures 11 by 4 1/8, and it's scored at 5.5 to make the card base. This one is in Coastal Cabana. And then we've got a piece of Bermuda Bay which measures 3 7/8 by 5 1/4. Then you're going to need a piece of DSP, and as I say, in this case it's from the SNAILED IT bundle, and this measures 3 3/4 by 5 1/8. A piece of white card for the inside, 3 7/8 by 5 1/4. And then you need a couple of smaller pieces of card. This one in Coastal Cabana to go with the card base, and that is 2.5 inches by 4 1/8. And we're going to score this together, and then a piece that's 1/2 inch by 2 inches, and we're going to score this one again together. And then a piece of window sheet. Now, can you see this? Yes, you can. 1/2 inch by 3 3/4, and this is what's going to create our pendulum. So it's almost invisible, so the character looks like it's swinging on nothing. Very clever, floats on air. So let's get started. Now what I should say is that I have also chosen a cute character that I'm going to cut out and use to add to the bottom of the pendulum. So there he is. I've used the same little character, but I've also got, and this is the great thing about the designer series paper, some other cute little characters on the paper which I'm going to fussy cut out because the dies that go with this bundle don't have a die for it. So I'm going to cut out the parcel, and I'm going to cut out this cute little Bubba snail and stick that on the inside or the outside as well for extra decoration. So let us make a start. So first things, as always, is take your card base. I'm going to take the card base and we're going to just burnish that really tightly. I like a nice tight score line, who doesn't? That's your card base. Now, what I should say to you is that this may look like a frame, but it's a faux frame. So I'm going to show you how to make a very quick faux frame, and I've done that. Rather than reversing it the other way around, I have got this, which is sadly retired now, but in the newer bundles for Stampin' Up you can get something just like it, die, which I cut out here, and then I went ahead and at the same time put the nesting circle die in the middle once these 3 layers were stuck together, and then hey presto, what do you get? You get a faux frame. Super quick way for doing a frame, but we're going to come to that a bit later on. So let's make a start. So of course what you have is you've got this layer that mats onto here, and then this layer that mats onto here, and this is a really tight little bit around the edge that goes onto there. Now the important part is that you're going to cut all the way through the card. So you need to flip it open, but you only need to cut the circle through all 3 layers, but what on earth shape do you call that? Scallop? The scalloped circle only needs to go onto the DSP. So first things first, you know that your pendulum sticks down from the top like so. You can cut this so that it's as tall or as short as you want. So I kind of went like this. I thought, okay, that's where my pendulum's going to be. That's where I'm going to put the scallop circle. So I'm going to take my pendulum away. Don't lose that. It's really hard to use that little window sheet, and because it's static, it will stick to anything and everything. So I'm now going to go away and I'm going to cut that scallop away. I'm going to cut it out now. So that's going to then give me the circle that I need in order to cut through the base layer and the matte layer as well. So off I go. Right, so I've cut that through now. I'm going to pop it out. Pop that to one side. You don't actually need it. You can use it for something else. So you'll see now that when I do that, I've got the scallop shape. Yeah? Like that. So when I now cut this out with my circle, it's going to leave a little frame in place. Now I'm going to pop off and do that now. So I'm going to cut that out and then I'm going to come back and then I can stick them all together. Now you could, if you wanted to at this stage actually, is you could stick them together. There's no reason why not. In fact, let's do that. So I can just show you that it's pretty easy to do. So I'm going to take my Snailed It. And then I'm going to stick that onto here. So there's your card base. Now I'm going to take the die, I'm going to center it in here, and then I'm going to cut that through all the way through. So what you're left with then is your aperture. So go off and do that. So here we are back. I've just cut that out. I'm going to pop that out. And as you can see, 2 circles. So if you wanted to, you could use this for something else, like this way, or using the other colorway. Don't let that go to waste. Definitely use it for something else. You could actually, if you wanted to, put it on the back. So put that off to one side. And now what you'll see is that what you've got is a faux frame. It's not the other way around. It's just a super quick way of making it look like a frame. I really like it. I think it's a great idea. Incidentally, Dawn Stampin' Thoughts didn't do that. I've just made that up because I was trying to find a quick workaround and it's just turned out that way. So really pleased that it was a happy accident. Now, the next part of it is we're going to do a little bit of scoring together. So I'm going to pop that off to one side. A little tidy up. Bring on my scoreboard. So on your piece of card, which we have got at 2.5 by 4 1/8. On the short side, you're going to score it at 1/2 inch. 1 1/4 inches. And then at 2 inches. Okay. I'm going to do the other scoring while I'm here. So your smaller 1/2 inch by 2 inches. On the long side, you're going to score it at 1/2 inch. This is a tiny piece, so 1/2 inch, 1 inch, get that right, and then 1.5 inches. All right, that's all the scoring done, so we'll pop that away. Now let's bring this piece back. So what I'm going to do is just burnish these. I want a really nice, tight fold on all of these. So if I show you how it should look, that's the fold that we're looking for. So you can mountain, valley, mountain, mountain in the middle, 2 valleys. So I'm going to turn it on this side so you can see it's a W or an M, whichever way you want to call it. But what you need to make sure is that all of the folds are really nice and tightly burnished so you get a really nice corsetina. Okay? And then what you're going to do is you're going to put that away and you're going to come back to that and use that later. Now for the smaller tab, it's a simple case of you just need to fold it. So this is the fold that you're looking for, an M or a W. and we're going to stick these down a bit later on. Pop that off to one side. Let's think about our character. So out of the DSP bundle, I've chosen this cute little snail. I'll show you it again in the card. Push him in the middle. Here. So I've chosen that, and there is a die for this one, and what I've done is I've cut that out, but I've also at the same time cut out a piece of white, because what I want to try and do, the paper itself is not necessarily that thick, it's a bit flimsy just on its own to hang. I want it to hang with a little bit of weight. So what I've done is cut a piece of white at the back, and we're going to sandwich the window sheet down the middle to give it that pendulum motion, and just to make it a little bit more substantial. So you've got your two bits there. I'm going to glue those together in a minute. I'm going to pop that off to one side. And then I've also got this little piece of scrap here, which has got some cute little bits and bobs on it that I'm going to use on the back. So I've got this parcel, and I've got this cute little baby Bubba snail. So I'm going to fussy cut out that snail. So there's our two little characters. There's the character I'm using for the pendulum. I'm going to just pop them off to one side. Because now, what you can see is from the finished card, it's quite difficult, because this is all sealed, you can't actually open the card and read any kind of greeting. So if you wanted to, at this stage, you could cut another piece of white card, 3 7/8, 5 1/4, and you could stick it on the back of the card base. So if I show you on our empty card base here, no point in putting anything in the center, but you could cut another piece of white, pop it onto the back, or smaller if you wanted to, stamp your greeting. And then this is probably where I would stick my little characters, as just added for added extra effect, just to stick them there and give it extra character. I'm not going to do that today, just going to pop them off. I just wanted to show you what you could potentially do. So now what we're going to do is talk about this little mechanism here, because inside, which you can't see, is the pendulum, which has been stuck with a brad. So look for brad, she says. There it is. Sadly, I haven't got any tiny brads left. I've used them all on this month's gift boxes. So I'm using quite a big brad. I'm hoping it won't show too much through the top, but I'm going to show you now how we put that whole mechanism together. So bring back your tiny piece here, because what you're going to do is put some glue here, and you're going to stick that together for a few minutes, and you want that to dry before you start getting on. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue in there, and then I'm going to hold that together like that. And then I'm hoping that that will dry so we can talk about this bit. So the bit that you've cut here, which is your W or your M, we're going to put some glue now onto the back bit before we actually put everything together, and you'll see why, because we're going to put the inside bit in at the last minute, and it's going to cover up all of your mechanisms and a lot of the gluing down, so you won't see any of that. So that's good, that's held together nicely. I'm just going to pop that off to one side. So inside your card here, you've got your piece of window sheet, you've got your bottom piece, and you've got your snail. So one of the things that you could be doing while you're waiting for your pendulum or your other bits and bobs to dry is that you could put a little bit of glue on your white card. Don't put too much because it will spill out of the edge. You're going to stick your pendulum on. Now you can trim your pendulum just before you stick it on if you want it shorter. I found that it's more or less exactly the right length. So stick it on, and then I'm going to put a little bit more on top of that here, because we're going to stick the snail. I want to call it Brian all the time from the Magic Roundabout, and that ages me. and then I'm going to maneuver it, wiggle it about until it's even and you're happy that the pendulum is straight. And then what you want to do is pop that down to one side, just let that dry for 5 minutes. So while we're waiting, what I'm going to do is show you how to stick the bottom base at the corsetine bit. And essentially what we're going to do is glue this end and we're going to stick that down to the bottom here. Now you can use wet glue, but obviously it's going to take you much longer. The Stampin' Seal is really strong now compared to the old snail glue. So I'm going to use that and it's more than adequate. And what you're going to do is turn it upside down and you're going to make sure that it lines up perfectly at the bottom. And this is the bit that you want to hide essentially when you put your white card on the inside. So if I stick that down that side, then turn and look and make sure it's even this side, pop it down, and you with my bone folder, just going to stick that down like that. And so what you should have now is your mechanism should look like this. We're not going to stick this bit down until the very end and the last of our mechanism is in. So bring back the little part that you have just made. And we're going to now punch a hole in it. So Stampin' Up used to have this hole punch. It's retired, but any hole punch will do. And what you're going to do now is holding the two tabs down and right near the top, you're going to punch a hole. Tear that off. It's squeezed a bit of glue out because it wasn't quite dry. So you now have a hole in your tab at the top. Pop that to one side. And what you're going to do with your little pendulum and Brian the snail is you're now going to punch a hole in the top because that is going to stick onto here with a brad. So using the hole punch, same thing. Encourage it off. Ooh, it's a bit wonky. No one will ever know. And can you see, match up the two holes, she says, easier said than done. And pop your brad through. Now my brad pins are not aligned, which is typical. You want to be using a much smaller brad than I've kind of got in here. But we'll see, you never know. When your hole's aligned, poke your brad pin through. And then obviously bend down your pin. Now, you don't want it too tight that your pendulum won't swing. So hold it up and see if it will swing. Now, a little trick that Dawn showed on her video was that she took her snips and she put them underneath the two pins like that and she pushed them together and then flattened them. And what that does is minimises the amount of space the brad's taking up in the hole and therefore lets your pendulum swing much easier, which is true, it does do that, which is fantastic. So then when you've got that brad in, fold those two down again and you can see what's going to happen. If you bring back the card, now what's going to happen is that that's going to stick down like that and your pendulum will come down. So first things first, a little bit of glue on this bit. I should say a little bit, I'm going to use a lot. I hate on my surface, and I'm going to do the other side as well. Again, you can use wet glue or double-sided tape, entirely up to you. Now, you can eyeball this, it's pretty simple. Your creases in the middle should absolutely line up like that. So you've got this free-flowing pendulum here, and when you turn it down, there, your snail's in view. Now, if you wanted to, you might think that's a little bit long. Hold it up straight and see if it's in the aperture. If it isn't, then what you can do, and I don't like that, so I'm just going to take that brad out very quickly. I'm going to trim my piece of acetate off and I'm going to punch another hole. because I want that a little bit shorter. Let's bring it back. Have to push the pins in. Redo my brad. Lovely. There. And then my snail appears much better in my aperture. I'm really happy with that. Give it a little shake. Test your pendulum motion. Smash in. All right, so what we've got is we've got a little snail who seems reluctant to move. And so I've got a little tip for that. So what I found was that this window sheet is a little bit static, and sometimes it sticks to the back card and it doesn't want to move. So, ta-da! Remember these embossing buddies. If you don't have an embossing buddy, a little bit of talcum powder will probably do, even something like cornstarch or corn flour. A little bit though, not, you know, a great whacking teaspoon. Just give your card base a little rub and the back of the window sheet, and then it'll create anti-static, and then it shouldn't stick any longer to your card base. So that's what I did, and I found that actually it worked a treat. So I'm just going to give him a rub my card base, pop that out of the way. So Brian's in. Now what we've got is that we've got all of these ugly things on show, and actually we want to try and get rid of them. So bring back your piece of white card that you previously cut, and you'll find that once you've got glue on that, that will slide over this bit and slide over your base here as well and cover all of those things up. I have to say, it doesn't really matter because nobody can open the card anyway, so you can't see in, but it just makes it much nicer to look at. Now if you wanted to, you could replace this piece of white card with a piece of corresponding DSP if you wanted to. So it had the DSPs poking through the window. However, what I think is that when you've got your little character and then you're trying to show your little character on top of a busy piece of DSP, for example, so if I use Brian out of here and then put him on there, he can't be seen very well. I thought that having a white background really made him pop. So I'm going to lift him out the way, and then I'm just going to pop this bit into position, secure that, pop this bit down like that, and now you'll see we need to stick this bit into position. So this is just as simple as taking your piece of glue, your stamping seal, piece of glue, and you're going to just fold that and you're going to stick it diligently to the corner on this side. Now be careful, this is sticky. I mean, if you're using wet glue, obviously much easier, but this is a much faster result. And then I'm going to just secure those again with the bone folder, and then you've got this corsetineed little bit here, and then you've got your pendulum card where Brian the snail makes an appearance. And actually when he's hanging down, he does actually look like he's floating in midair because you can't see the window sheet. So that's the little card. So let's pop Brian back. There's the two cards. And as I said, if you flip that over, don't forget that you've got these components that you've cut out. So you could, if you wanted to, stick them on, stamp on these. You could put a piece of white card or just write directly onto the back. And the great thing is that these will concertina down and go into a normal envelope. So actually I've used that larger brad and you can't tell the difference at all. This was used a smaller brad. It's absolutely fine. So there you have it. Brian the snail. So this is, thanks to Dawn Stampin' Thoughts, the Pendulum card using Snailed It bundle. Really super cute. And at this current moment in time, we're still in lockdown in the UK. And so I'm sending a lot of cards to people just to say, hi, how are you? I'm thinking about you. Wish I could give you a great big hug, all of those kinds of things. And snail mail really has got that perfect handwritten kind of theme to it. So you've got mail, happy mail enclosed, that sort of thing. And I just think it's a throwback. I love it, it's retro. Love these little mushrooms, which you can colour in with the blends as well. So I'm loving my Snailed In bundle. It also comes with this great little envelope die, which folds up and makes a lovely little envelope. Love that. You can tuck some of the characters into the envelope as well. It's really super cute. And you've got this great kind of curvy lined stitched square die as well, which I haven't used, but super cool. And these dies cut out not just your stamped images, but also the images on the designer series paper as well, which is really, really useful. So that's it, folks. Snailed It bundle, Pendulum card. Now don't forget, it's not, Pendulum cards aren't just for Snailed It. You can also use them with loads of other sets and great characters. So like my previous card that we've done for the month of May, come June, when the new catalogue is out, there are some amazing little critters in there which I absolutely love. I'm just not going to say it, but dancing puffins might be one of them. And I cannot wait until I have a chance to play with those dancing puffins, and I think the puffins would be great for this kind of card as well. So love it. I think that just about comes to the end of my Snailed It papers. May have to get some more. It's been a great set, and I hope you've really enjoyed making this card along with me. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe our videos. By liking our videos, it helps our channel grow. And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so, and you'll get a reminder every time we post some new videos up. So from Claire, Squirrel 1, and I, Squirrel 2, just like to say thanks for watching, everyone, and come back again to Stampin' Squirrels really soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.